Things just took a major turn for the Detroit Red Wings as we have a shocking update on the team, and they have been forced into a massive decision at this year's trade deadline. We're going to break down exactly what this all means and how Steve Yzerman has to do something with this team for them to find success in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Red Wings Digest. But before we get into all of that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Almost 95% of you still who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel, and your support has been unbelievable. At the time we're recording this, we are just a few subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers on the channel. The support has been unbelievable. Thank you so much. And we have a new goal of 2,000 subscribers. It's been insane. Mark and I thank you so much. But Mark, let's get right into it. There's a lot going on with the Detroit Red Wings, and I want to get into this article from Max first because we're heading into the Olympic break, right? And this is a good time to sit back, reevaluate everything, reflect on things and where they're going to be coming back from the break. And if you look at the standings right now, they actually fell a spot. They've been, pretty comfortable at that 2 position for a long time. Now, if the playoffs started today, they would not have home ice advantage and they'd be playing the Montreal Canadiens. Now, things are very tight. But Mark, I want your thoughts on this. We're going to dive into an article in a second. I just teased there in terms of where they're headed and some interesting stats in terms of what they need to pick up once they come back from the Olympics. But this is absolutely crucial for this team. They have to try to finish with home ice advantage, and I think they have to go out and make a trade as well, which we'll get to later in the video.
The big thing is, Darius, when you're looking at the division, Atlantic in particular, this is a Eastern Conference and Atlantic division where every game means something. You can go out, you win a game, you jump to the top of the Atlantic division, you see Detroit drop a game, and guess what happens? You drop down to third. Getting home ice during this is going to be huge. These teams are going out. They're going to be super active. We know a lot of teams are looking to add a centerman, another scoring winger. The Montreal Canadiens already made some ads before the first freeze where we've seen them go out and pick up to know this is going to be a super tight, the tightest division or just conference we've probably seen in quite some time. You can look at the standings. Someone goes on a 3-game win streak and you jump from middle of the pack out of the playoffs straight into a spot. It's going to be a big trade deadline for Yzerman going through. And I think the big thing, as we spoke about it too, John Gibson is, of course, better on the road. It feels like he has all his shutouts on the road, but getting home ice advantage to be on the home ice with your fans in front of you, yes, that is a big part of it. But then you get home ice and you get the leverage of John Gibson being unstoppable on the road. You could take a series in 5 or 6 games, especially if you have that number 1 spot.
And especially if you are playing a team with inexperience. Like imagine you match up against the Buffalo Sabres, and I was talking about that last episode as well. And you bring up a good point. You win a couple games, you jump in the standings. I remember, a couple games ago, Columbus was last in the Eastern Conference. Now they're on the brink of a playoff berth at this point, climbing their way up. So that is pretty interesting. So we'll see how that continues to develop. But I did want to get into the article from Max now because there's some very interesting tidbits here. And this first one is what the Red Wings need to do coming back from the break. And you can see the biggest takeaways the last couple years and what they've struggled with is the second half play and how they've played in the second half. Of course, a couple seasons ago, they had that big push at the end to try and make the playoffs. It didn't end up that way. But look at some of these stats, and I want your thoughts on this as well, Mark. Dylan Larkin, since December 1st, has only 5-on-5 points. This team is relying very heavily on special teams right now. And Raymond is the only Red Wing in the league's top 50 in 5-on-5 scoring. And DeBrincat is the only other player in the top 100 in the league. They need to figure out their 5-on-5 scoring because guess what, Mark? The power plays, they go away in the playoffs, especially in key moments. You can't rely upon it, right? So, yes, they've been electric in that way, and DeBrincat has been a great scorer all season, but they need to up their 5-on-5 play. That was the first thing I thought was interesting. And, of course, DeBrincat having a fantastic year. He's, 57 points in 58 games, almost a point-a-game player and having a ton of goals. Maybe should have been on the Olympic team. We'll see how that plays out for the Olympic team. But nonetheless, there were some other interesting tidbits from the article as well, where Max went on to talk about, if they make a big splash on defense, and maybe we can pivot to that because obviously they have some injuries on the back end right now that are seriously affecting them. I mean, huge impact on the team. And obviously they're going to get some of those guys back. And we'll get into that in a little bit after the Olympics. But if they make a big splash on defense, it's hard to see the Red Wings having the assets to do so on the front end as well, on the forward group, which I think is very interesting. So, Mark, do you think that they're going to make a trade, period, first of all? I think they have to at this point, and I think it's very crucial that they go out, like Max is saying here, and go out and get a defenseman?
Because I think that's a big thing. Listen, going out to get both a forward and a defenseman, I feel like you can go out and cheap out on one of the positions, pick up a guy right at the deadline that maybe just makes a small impact, but then spend most of your assets where we do know they have the draft capital. They have that extra pick in the 7th round, which is probably just a sweetener at the end of the day. But I do think what he's trying to point out now is the fact that, yes, you could go out and get that star forward. I know a lot of people don't want Kadri. Vincent Trocheck looks like a very interesting name to join this team as well, Darius. I think it's going to get interesting on what you go into. And I want you guys to go down in the comments because me and Darius are going to go into this a little bit. Do you think a right-handed defenseman, a center, or both is what this team needs? Go put 1 for a right-handed defenseman, 2 for a center, 3 if they truly need both. Because Darius, I don't know if you feel differently, but I feel like you need to go out. You need to get a center. The 5-on-5 numbers alone kind of show this is an elite team, but I think they're that one piece away from taking over that middle 6 center position that can really push them over the edge in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the team, I have to disagree with that. And I think that they can use a center and a defenseman. But I think if you're going to go out and you're going to make one, we're talking about it for the sake of this conversation, obviously, and this debate, if you look at the forward group, I think they're okay at center. They're just okay. Like, they have some depth. Could they use another guy? Yes. But are they going to get a guy that's going to put them over the edge? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. And who is it that is available? I think Vincent Trocheck would seriously help. I think if you're going to go after a center, you go after that guy or maybe nobody else. But I think the position to upgrade at is a right shot D. And I think it's just defense in general, because if you're looking at who's currently on defense right now, Travis Hamonic is not going to cut it, okay? Like, he's been okay for the time being, just okay, but he kind of stinks, right? We all know that. I've seen the comments, like, everybody's talking about it. Why upgrade on him? Why not, right? And then Axel Sandin-Pellikka is going to be a great player, but if you can shelter him a little bit where he doesn't have to play second pairing minutes and he's down on the third pairing, you lengthen your lineup, you have that much more experience in there, and you have a guy that can play more minutes, and then Axel Sandin-Pellikka can probably do more with less minutes because he's going to be sheltered. So that's the way I see it, and I think a guy you can go out and get is a Justin Falk. You're probably going to be paying quite a bit for it, but I mean, we've heard that there's Luke Schenn as well. I think that would be interesting. Like, imagine Luke Schenn, and because you can get him for very cheap, and again, I'm just throwing names out there, like, who knows who they're going to go out and get. Like, OEL could be had as well. Simone Benoit from the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're sellers now as well. But you pair maybe Luke Schenn and Ben Sherratt together. That's a bit of a shutdown pair that you probably don't want to play against because you're going to get beat up against them. So I think that's pretty interesting. But Mark, again, I know you feel a little bit differently. Maybe they go out and get a center, but I think if you're just going to make one move, Steve Yzerman's like, I'm only going to make one move. I think it's got to be a defenseman.
And I think at the end of the day, we know the one position they're not going to upgrade is goaltending because we know how good John Gibson has been. But fans, let us know down there right now in the comments, what do you think they get? Because we want to settle this and figure out what the fan base, including ourselves, feel. Because it feels like a big split. This team definitely needs to add. But I do think, Darius, at the end of the day, this can't be an trade deadline where you go in and sit on your hands. Yes, you have some great talent. Yes, you have guys that are going to make an impact. But I think at the end of the day, you still need to add something. If it's something small, reward the players, because we know Dylan Larkin has made it very clear that last offseason, or trade deadline once again, was something that he wished this management added something.
Yeah, he did. And he came out and spoke about that even this season. And there's been multiple articles published, and B reporters have been talking about it, that last season he was not happy with how the trade deadline went because he thought that they should have made some moves to better the team to try and make the playoffs. Well, this year they're in a much better position, and it's absolutely justified that they should go out and make a move. But we want to hear what you have to say in the comments below. 3 guys headed to the Olympics as well. Keep in mind, Lucas Raymond, obviously Dylan Larkin, and Moritz Seider all playing for their respective countries, which means the rest of the guys get some rest, which means I think the league is going to look very different coming back from this 2-week, actually almost 3-week break at this point. But let us know how you feel in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Detroit Red Wings.